Let's get straight into our session this morning. And yes, so we've been talking about building resilience. And last week we left it off when we were talking about finding your coping mechanism. But also what we mentioned earlier on, just for purposes of context, is that resilience is your ability to bounce back. That's what we've been talking about. Largely, resilience is your ability to bounce back in the face of adversity when you have encountered a challenge or you're facing a difficult situation. How do you get yourself moving? Those situations are not rare. They are not uncommon. They are things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And we need to build the mental capability to pick ourselves up and bounce back. Okay. And among the things we had talked about much earlier, among the keys for building resilience, we talked about looking for the silver lining. In other words, what is good in this situation? What lesson can I learn? That is the silver lining, because every cloud has a silver lining. So what is the lesson? Train your mind to see the good in everything. If you look closer, sure enough, you will find it. The second thing we looked at is choosing your response. And choosing your response, we said the event does not determine your outcome. It is the event plus your response which will determine the outcome. So whenever you're faced with any situation, always ask yourself, how can I respond appropriately? Many times it is not what happens to us. It is what we do about what happens. That's why we say that life is 10% what happens to us, and 90% how we react to it. So you may not change the event, but you can change the response, and the response will change the outcome. We also say that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. This is about perspective. Perspective, the way we view things, perspective. Number 3, we talked about finding your coping mechanism, something that can help you to cope. And please note that this also has to be something that will not make the situation worse. Sometimes people resort to coping mechanisms that have the potential to be destructive. For example, if someone resorts to drinking, sometimes people think they are drinking to forget their problems, but when they become sober, the problem has not gone away. So it's important that we find a mechanism that is helpful, coping mechanisms, overcome stress. And we talked about a number of things: prayer, listening to music, things, exercise, good diet, things that can help us to cope with the situation, things that are constructive that can help us. That's where we left it off, and today we want to go to number 4, where we are seek professional support. Seek professional support. When you find yourself in a situation that you don't quite find it easy to deal with or navigate with it around it on your own, it is okay to find professional. Professional support can mean different things here. Professional support could be counseling. Professional support could be finding the help of a mentor. Just a moment, I'm trying to turn off notification so that I don't keep getting those sounds. Okay. Yes, so professional support simply means reaching out. Reaching out. Don't struggle with the challenge that someone can help you with. And the same thing applies in our business, that sometimes you may be having a challenge and you are trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure it out on your own, but you're not quite finding the solution. And yet, every challenge that you have or that I have, there is someone that has dealt with it. There is someone that has been through it. In fact, someone once made a statement that all the mistakes you will ever make, we have already made. Think about it. That for all the mistakes you will ever make, we have already made. All the challenges you find, we have already gone through. So seek professional help. Seek professional help. Asking for help. Les Brown said, ask for help, not because you are weak, because you want to remain strong. Ask for help and don't stop until you get it. Reach out. Reach out. And part of professional support could be therapy or counseling. Seek professional help if you find it challenging to cope with difficult situations. So yes, there is a place for us to find therapy. There's a place for us to find counseling. And it is okay to find this kind of help. It could even be financial, that you find it so difficult to manage your money and it has become a problem. It is okay to find the help of a professional financial coach. Okay? It could be a problem that is social. It is because those are things that can easily affect your business. You may not realize that a challenge you're facing at home is affecting your ability to deliver maximum performance at work. It is okay to find professional help where there is that need. That's why doctors always say, if symptoms persist, seek medical advice. So if you find that things are not going away, it is okay. Don't find it weird to go and find help. These people are there to give us the support that we need in times like those. And there's so many kinds. I know now there are even people who offer support with grief. Grief, someone goes through a challenge, maybe a loss, and you just find it so difficult to cope. You don't know how to move on. And that can hold you back for so many years. That can hold you back for so many years. And yet there are people that have been trained. People have gone through these experiences and they know how to help people to deal and navigate with such circumstances. So professional support is key when it comes to building resilience. So the question that I have is, whatever challenge you have you reached out to someone? Is there someone that you have shared this with? They say a problem shared is a problem half solved. That's sharing it. Even if you don't get the response, just putting it out. Of course, be careful with who you tell. And that's a very important thing. But you don't just tell anybody. No, you go to someone that is trained, because they are trained to keep confidentiality. They are trained to listen properly and give you the response, or they are trained to guide you. So don't tell anyone. Find the help that you need from the profession. In our kind of business, it could be mentorship, seeking guidance from mentors or role models who have faced and overcome similar challenges. Maybe you're a young lady building business, and you find that men just keep hitting at you. Find help with someone who, a similar young lady facing the same situation, and then they will tell you, oh, no, that's okay. What you do is, when you're making phone calls, don't call at odd hours, because if you're following up at 10 p.m., that might, open up a can of worms. So they will help you to know how do you, if you're going to meet, say, somebody, they will advise you, don't meet them in a secret private place, okay? Or go with somebody else. Ways that someone who has gone through this can help you navigate through the same situation. So seek guidance. It could be that maybe your business is stuck and you just don't know what to do. Don't sit and wonder. Call somebody. In fact, they say in our business, the only secrets are the ones we share. There are no secrets to this business. Call someone and say, I would like to just meet you over a cup. How are you doing this? I am trying to sponsor people, but it is failing. How are you doing it? Reach out. Guidance from people or role models. This could be your upline. This could be your crossline. A crossline is someone who is not your upline. And that's why we build this kind of support, that we are here to support one another. We are here to help one another, because a candle loses nothing by lighting another. So all that is to say, professional support is extremely important. Moving on now, number 6. Is this number 6? It should be number 5. Don't mind about the numbering. Develop problem-solving skills. Develop problem-solving skills. One of the things that you're going to realize in life is you cannot, challenges will always be there. We may not take away the challenge. We can only develop the ability to overcome the challenge. And one of it is problem-solving skills, just developing the ability to solve problems. And part of problem-solving skills could be analytical thinking. Now, analytical thinking is when you sit down and you analyze a situation and you break it into smaller parts so that you can begin to solve it more effectively. And at the end of the day, by the way, we in real life are being paid for solving a problem. And the problem we are solving is a health problem. When you think about it, all of business is about problem solving. Every business is a solution to a problem. There would be no business without problems. That's why when you have a challenge, it is someone's opportunity to solve it. So when you have a problem, so for example, we have talked about professional support. If you have a challenge, you go to a professional counselor. This person was trained. This person was, equipped. They went to school for this. So they are going to charge you maybe $30 per hour. So you're going to pay $30 for them to solve your problem. But even you, when people come to you with a problem, you solve it and you get paid. When people need to clean with organic cleaning solutions and you provide Super 10 and LDC, that is solving a problem and you're earning a profit for solving someone's problem. When you're going to build a house, you have a problem. You need a shelter, so you need a house. Who do you go to? You go to an engineer or an architect. When they design for you that plan, they make for you that beautiful structure, you pay them because they are solving your problem. So life is all about solving problems. Develop problem-solving skills. It begins with being a critical thinker. Critical thinking. This is where you break down analytical thinking. This is where you break down a problem into smaller parts to solve it more effectively. So break down things. Okay, break down things. Take, for example, it could be that you have maybe you're not able to build a customer base. Maybe you find that you can't retain customers. Okay, you can't retain customers. Now, break it down into smaller parts, and then you ask yourself some questions. And we're going to generate some questions that can help you to identify some of these solutions. Okay. Then the other thing is decision making, learning to make decisions even in uncertain situations. Learning to make decisions. This is another way of developing problem solving skills. Learning to decide quickly, decision making. This can help you to build resilience. In the book Think and Grow Rich, one of the author came up with a list of 31 causes of failure. And in these 31 causes of failure, one of the causes of failure is indecision. People who cannot decide. So just learning the ability to decide quickly is another way of building resilience. Whenever you find yourself making a decision and it takes you 3 days, 1 week, a simple decision, that is something that we can do better. Decision making, learning to make decisions even in uncertain situations. One of the things that we talked about was the kind of questions that you can ask. In fact, there is a book that says questions are the answers. Okay, questions are the answers. So we are going to use a problem. Take, for example, a problem of sponsoring. Now that we know that according to Oziana Sang, he said that the only new thing in network marketing, let me see. Who remembers what she said? Type for me in the chat. The only new thing in network marketing is let me even stop sharing and we see what's happening in there. Only new thing in network marketing is new people. Thank you, Andrew. The only new thing in network marketing is new people. That is the only thing. Okay. So we are going to work with a situation where I am not sponsoring. Okay, that is the problem. I am not sponsoring. So what I want us to do is we are going to generate questions that as you answer, you can begin to identify solutions. And the way we are going to do it is using the 5, how, where, who, what, those kinds of questions. So what I want us to do is go to the chat and type a question that you can put down, and it causes you to begin to think about a possible solution to that problem. Let me give an example. If the challenge is sponsoring, now don't ask a question like, how can I sponsor? That is a bit generic. That is a bit generic. It is a good question, but it's a bit general. A question that I would ask is, so all of us are going, you can derive a question, you can start a question with either what, who, where, when, or how. So a question like, what can I do to bring people into my business? Okay, that's just an example. What can I do to bring people into my business? Okay, let me just give another example. Another example could be, where can I find new people? So that is now brainstorming. Okay, thank you very much. Where can I find new people? Exactly, we're thinking along the same lines. So just put for me as many questions that you can begin to use, begin to solve the problem. And you see, the quality of the answer is determined by the quality of the question. If the question is clear, even the answer will be clear. If the question is vague, even the answer will be vague. We are talking about problem-solving skills. The number one way to solve a problem is to ask yourself a question and then begin to come up with that. Let's bring the things. I see some questions, really good. You may want to capture these questions and use them, because this is day one of the month, and you may just want to ask yourself some of these questions. Okay, thank you. All right, so keep them coming. I can see some really interesting questions. I would like to, okay, let me just go through. Becca says, where can I find new people? Okay, that's a good question. Where do I find new people? Now, this is a question that sends you to begin thinking about where. Is it social media? Now, it's good that when you're thinking, when you're doing this kind of activity, you have a notebook, and no answer is wrong. Any answer that comes to your mind, write it down. Any answer that comes to your mind, just, even if it doesn't make sense, write it down. Where can I find new people? Then you begin to realize, I can find new people at events, like weddings, networking events, business events. I can find new people on social media. I can, the more you think, the more these opportunities begin to come to your mind. Okay. What is limiting me from taking a step? That's a good question to ask. What is limiting me? What is my limiting factor? And then you begin to realize, hey, I'm not putting in enough. I think my limiting factor is sponsoring. Because remember, again, from that session of Oziana, she was very crystal clear about the fact that new people, new energy, new movement of products. So what is limiting me from taking a step? Could it be that I am not putting in enough? That's a good question, because this is between you and yourself. Okay. William says, where do I need the money for? Okay, why do I need the money for? Okay, maybe this is a question that is saying, kind of crystallizing the desire around doing the business. What is it that I need money for? I need money to pay my rent. I need money to pay my bills. I need money to pay this. I need money for Dar es Salaam. I need to get my customer base moving. That's a good question to ask, because it makes you realize, hey, there are things I need money for, but I'm not putting in enough effort. Okay. Another question is, when is the right time to introduce the opportunity to a new prospect? Beautiful question. When is the right time? Maybe you have met someone, you are still building rapport. It may not be right yet to introduce the business. Maybe you're asking yourself, when is the right time? Maybe the right time is when they say something that has a link to my business. If they say something like, my children have not been well, that might be the opportunity to say, I have something that might be of help. Or maybe if nothing is coming, that is a point to pose a question and say, have you ever thought about working part-time to make some additional income? So this is a conversation that is helping you to identify what are your gaps and how you can solve them. Okay. Then Esther says, how do I approach a stranger? Good question. How do I approach a stranger? one of the things about us is that many times we don't take time to think. I think if there is something that we should have learned from school, it is just, leave alone what we studied. What we studied, we may not even use them in day-to-day life. But the process behind learning the things we studied is what we use every day. Take, for example, back in mathematics in primary school, there was a question that used to ask, I think of the number x. I multiply by 2. I get 6. What is x? Now, you begin to find the problem by solving x. Now, that is the same skill we can use every day in life. So when Esther asks a question like, how do I approach a stranger? It is like you're finding x. So how do I approach a stranger? Maybe with a stranger, I will first build rapport. Maybe with a stranger, I will ask, how are you? What do you do? Then they will say something and I will build up on it. Maybe I will be more curious about people when I meet them. How do I approach a stranger? Maybe I'll ask about their family if I find it safe to do so. Okay, maybe I will ask about their recreation. We have the format that we use called FORM, F-O-R-M, where F is family, O is occupation, R is recreation, M is motivation. How do I approach a stranger using the format of FORM? That's where the answers come from. And then once you get that, look for the most appropriate response and work with that. How can I identify a potential team member? What are some of the things that I can see about a team member and I can begin to see potential? It is important for us to create time. Okay, quite a number of questions there. I don't think I can finish all of them, but let me just try and see those that I can read. What can I do to regain the strength and enthusiasm I had when I had just seen this opportunity? Okay, very good question there. You know, some of these questions are unique to us, to you. So these are questions that you ask yourself. You ask yourself, when I started this business, I was so enthusiastic. I was telling everybody, but now this fire has gone. What can I do? What can I do? Where is Near Life needed? And I can go to open, okay. Where is Near Life needed? And I can go to open the markets. Okay, where is Near Life needed? And Dr. Cesar is in Harare this weekend. Very interesting question there. Why did I start the Near Life business? Okay, why did I start? They say whenever it's always good to keep asking yourself why I started. All right. Susan says, for how long should I for how long should I keep missing a million shillings? Surely. For how long? For how long? These are very good questions to ask on day one of this month, okay, of October. How can I develop independent leaders in my team? Good. What do I need to do to close successfully? Very good question there. What do I need to do to close successfully? And Rosalind says, how do I create believability? Wow. Beautiful questions. And what I just want to say about these questions is this. Find the question that you feel can address your business challenges. Okay? Remember, we are building creative problem-solving skills. Let me tell you something. In fact, let me put it in 3 ways. Dr. Miles Monroe once came to Uganda. This was when Uganda was celebrating 50 years independence. He held a VIP session at the Serena. I remember I went for that session. I paid 150,000. That is about $30, $40. I remember sitting in that meeting and Dr. Miles Monroe said that poor people are lazy thinkers. Think about that statement. Poor people are lazy thinkers. Now, that statement sounds a bit insulting, but it is true. Poor people are lazy thinkers. What he is saying is when you develop your ability to think, you will solve your problem, and the solving of the problem will earn you money. Another person that said a similar thing was Napoleon Hill. He said, think and grow rich. Think and grow rich. In other words, when you cause your mind, and remember, your mind is like a muscle. Now, how do we build muscle? We build muscle through practice. So when you get these beautiful questions and you create like 30 minutes, and I want to encourage you, create a thinking time. Create a thinking time. Maybe wake up early when everyone else is still asleep. Wake up, say your prayers, and then get your thinking notebook. Maybe you should even have a thinking notebook. And just write the question at the beginning of the page, at the top of the page. The question like, what do I need to do to close successfully? That is your question to think about. Now, force your brain to come up with 10 options. What can I do to close successfully? Think without even consulting Google, without even consulting anybody. Think. And then you begin to ask, okay, number one, what can I do to close successfully? I can ask when you're ready with the money. Write that down. I can ask how they would like to pay. Write it down. I can ask when are you ready to start? Good. I can also assume that they are ready by asking, you like to use my pen or your pen to sign the form? You just generate as many questions. Then after you have generated those questions, you can get the same question and you type it in the Google search. Okay, now ask Teacher Google. You don't go to Teacher Google first. You first use your brain, and after using your brain, you ask Google. Okay, now you go to Google and you type, how can I close successfully? And then they will give you the 10 ways to close successfully. Then you look through that 10 and find what works for you. Let me tell you, by the time you get up from that thinking space of 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I can guarantee you that you'll have something that you can use to address your challenge. So create a thinking time, create a thinking space. Another thing that I do, in addition to my personal thoughts, in addition to reference, I have people that I bounce ideas on. In my case, myself as Jesse, my wife is a very good friend that can help me to bounce ideas on. So sometimes I will ask, how do you think I can close better? And then she will say, maybe you can just write everything and don't object anything. Whatever someone gives you, write it down. You can ask your friend at work, you can ask your husband or your wife, you can ask somebody, have kind of like a committee that you can just bring questions to, and you say, today, I would like you to help me to brainstorm on something. Do you have some time? Yes, I have something I would like you to help me to brainstorm on. What is it? I want to bring people into my business. I am finding it a bit challenging. And then they will ask you, what do you find challenging about it? Sometimes when I'm introducing the idea, I feel like if they discover it is network marketing, they might not be interested. Oh, okay. Okay. But if you just go ahead and say it anyway, so you can brainstorm with somebody that can, even if they are not part of the business, once you address it to them, they can help you to find a solution. In professional coaching, that's what coaching is all about. A coach does not have to be an expert in your field. I can coach a doctor. I am not a doctor. I can coach a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to be a lawyer to coach. A coach will just pose questions that will cause you to think in your solution. I hope that this session on developing problem-solving skills has been helpful. So what is my call to action? My call to action to us is this. Today, find some time. And the best time to do this is really when you're not distracted. Because then you're trying to think, a phone call comes in. You're trying to think, then your child says, Daddy, can I? No. It's better to wake up early. Thankfully, we wake up very early in the morning. Maybe you can wake up 30 minutes before the 6 a.m., 5:30, sit down and create your question. Find a nice small book and call it a thinking book. Don't take notes, any other notes, only use it to capture your thoughts. And then use that book, find problems and put them there and begin to solve them on paper. As you solve them on paper, I believe you will take them into application and you will solve them.